let's have a little look-see and see what we think about this topic. What is this bad news for the future of MMOs? Let's see what exactly we're concerned about right now.
So a few weeks ago, we covered this crazy story about Nexon
scamming
its players for well over a decade. And I'm not just talking about them making MMOs with cash
Yeah, they've already been doing that.
shops and microtransactions. No, we all knew that was happening.
We played some MapleStory and had fun with it. We also played some of this and had fun with it, so I don't know where this is going. Uh-oh.
And it's pretty par for the course in the
I've seen
genre.
this one.
What they were doing was way worse. After a multi-year investigation, the Korean Fair Trade Commission announced that they found Nexon guilty of unfair rate manipulation for cash shop items in MapleStory. In that game, they sell these things called...
Oh, wait a minute. I'm right on top of Asmon. Yeah. Let me get Asmon out of the way. Or move me out of the way. Where can I hang out? I don't know if I want to move my WoW thing. We'll let Asmon sit over there, but then we're gonna be in Force's way some other time too, I'm surely. Yeah. Okay. That'll do, huh? Let's continue.
Called cubes. These are essentially loot boxes that grant power upgrades. You buy a cube, roll the dice, and are given a random reward depending on which cubes you purchased. This can include passive stat boost and gear upgrades. The odds of getting any particular outcome from a cube were published by Nexon a few years ago, as has become industry.
Now I'm in the way of Asmon's chat. Is that a problem? Should I sit on top of Asmon's chat? Or maybe I could sit up on top of the corner. Just in general. I can sit on Asmon's chat so you guys can see what Asmon's chat thought. That does not sound good though. Loot box manipulation? Oh boy.
Standard for pretty much any game that sells loot.
Because it's mandatory. Because they have to do it. I think it's like an EU regulation that you have to actually publish what the drop rates are. So I don't want you guys to go and be like, oh, well, the companies are doing this because they care about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They're just following the law. The only reason this exists for percentages is because of the law. In Chinese, yeah, there it is.
Box.
It's a hard line. That's a hard line. They don't care about you at all. I hope not.
Nowadays, companies will just tell you like what the % chance you have of getting whatever it is you're looking for.
I certainly hope that's the
purchase
case.
some sort of a loot box. The problem in this circumstance, though, was that the actual odds were not only not as published, they were also regularly being manipulated, and the rarest, most highly coveted outcomes, the thing that pretty much everyone buying cubes was hoping to get, that was literally impossible to acquire.
Oh man, so I heard something. This is a bit of a tangent. I heard something where like if you are like doing these particular activities, like if you like log in to play with friends, or you're like playing by yourself or whatever, that like drop rates for something were different. Is that what this is? What game was that I heard about? That sounded kind of freaky too.
Your odds were actually 0. So the investigation...
What?
That's so messed up, man.
Nexon manipulated both probabilities. First, they blocked users to obtain the best ideal additional ability, so the preferred option is never achievable.
Oh, no.
Second, they slowly lowered the probability of promotion.
Revealed that after Nexon began selling
can't be doing that.
They progressively lowered the probability of getting an item.
This is gonna sound horrible, but I literally don't give a fuck about this, and I think that if you spend money on games like this, you're a fucking idiot, and I don't care if they take advantage of you. Now, obviously, it should still be against the law, and they shouldn't be able to do it. Like, yeah. But do I genuinely feel bad for them? No, I don't.
He's crazy, man. I think Asmon's being Asmon. I don't think that it feels good to spend money for power in video games. I've played a lot of free-to-play games, and I feel like the ones that have the monetization to get your character more powerful, it really like I want to love it, and I sometimes even do really enjoy the game. It's just there's always that thing looming in the back of your mind, like this can't really be something I play forever, man. But like Lost Ark had a blast with it. I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal because PvP was normalized. In Diablo Immortal, the game was so fun for me, and I loved the PvP at the end game. But when I found out that your actual rating that you were capable of getting in the game was tied to your resonance, which comes from gems, which came from spending money in the game, I was like, oh man, that's messed up. I don't know if I've really seen people talk about that either. It's like if your arena rating in WoW was tied to how much money you spent on microtransactions in WoW. Man, that really took me out, but I thought it was fun. But yeah, grinding games that are pay to win, it's always like, It's like even if you're having fun in the back of your mind, like, man, this sucks that this is part of the game. So, but I wouldn't say F everybody who does it. It's just like, I wish that they wouldn't, you know?
You get what you fucking
upgrade,
deserve.
and
Jeez.
they blocked users from ever obtaining the most ideal stat boost combination. That most powerful role that players were wanting was never achievable.
Like, that is so messed up, dude. Holding that carrot in front of people.
Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
That they pay money for, they literally can never get it. Dude. I wonder how this all came out. That's insane.
On top of doing this rate manipulation, they on several occasions made false public statements that no such changes were occurring, while those changes were in fact actively occurring. The investigation also revealed, while all of this was taking place, that Nexon had many back and forth conversations via internal emails about whether or not the company should disclose this information, but ultimately they decided against it.
Why? Why? Just so that, like, you can have the fallout at some other time? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. If there's pay to win odds, must be really trash for free to play even to try. Yeah, I don't know, bros.
Well, they shouldn't do it, because if you disclose it, then people would be less likely to give you money. So you don't want to tell them, so they give you more money.
Yeah, then you get crushed later.
Yeah. Time I mean, it's common sense. Were first made available.
And you probably lose all the money in like lawsuits and stuff. What's the point?
Available for purchase in 2010 to when this investigation took place in 2021, Nexon had made roughly $420 million from
I really need to make one of these games, guys.
Aspen, chill, bro.
Sales alone, and as punishment from what was discovered, the Korean FTC fined Nexon $9 million, a measly...
Wait, so they made...
Yeah, he's about to do the math on this. I'm pretty
420 million, and they got fined 9 million.
Okay.
That sounds...
My concern was that the scam was not worth the fallout. Turns out it was.
It's like a win to me.
Yeah, what the heck?
2% tax on their earnings.
Yeah.
Surely this is going to stop them from ever doing it again. Now, that story alone is crazy, but buried in there was something that I find even more concerning for the entire loot genre, for the entire MMO genre. When making all this information public, the Korean FTC released many documents and details found during its discovery process, part of which was the reveal of a patent that Nexon holds.
This is the one! Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Look at this. If there's a lot of user activity, then you decrease the rates of drop. And you increase rates for users who don't play that much, because they like get cool stuff like, oh, this is awesome, I should do more. And then so they change rates based on location. If gacha items exceed expected number or set amount, decrease rate. So it's like if people are getting more than they should, then like the rate would be determined, you know, to get. They drop the rates. They change the rates depending on number of friends. But yeah, so I feel like I've seen some of this. Maybe on Twitter. That's crazy.
In Korea,
this is nuts.
Variable rewards based on player activity, or in other words.
Well, yeah, they want. Yeah, of course, this is a good idea. They should absolutely do this. It manipulates people into spending.
That's so
more.
insane. It's like how I say, like your first shuffle, like you log in, and you have like your first shuffle of the day is usually a fast pop. Yeah, it's like that kind of thing. Or like in League of Legends, a lot of people say like your first game, you get like good players on your team and you get like a win your first game of the day, so you keep queuing. That's nuts.
Common sense, yeah.
I wonder if I'll show it again.
Of changing the rate of item drops or the rewards gained from loot boxes based on the individual player. Now, I've always been aware that this sort of thing could exist and may be happening.
Well, you want to have it to where it's able to, like, through like AI, machine learning, or an algorithm, figure out how to milk the person out of the most money. So, like, how do you do that? Well, the way you do that is you figure out a way
I want to read those things again.
Like program and like, you know, based off of their previous spending like habits, you know, it's like they spend this much money at a time, so you want to give them a win. Like, let's say they spend $100, give them a win at $107, so they have to spend just a little bit more money, because that's how you maximize.
This is just not a way that I think about business.
Is you figure out their psychology, and then you can take advantage of it.
I mean, this is not how I operate, but there is so much like sort of room for, like you said, taking advantage of people in this kind of stuff. That's crazy, man. I actually want to go back and look at that thing again. I want to see like what the rates changed into. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Right, so change rates a number of friends on the buddy list. So they change rates based on buddy list stats. Change rate for certain gacha items above some rarity. Change rates based on users' current items. That's so crazy.
Like program and like, you know, based off of their psychology, and then you can take advantage of it.
Nuts.
That I play, but seeing actual confirmation in writing of a company officially registering their ability and intention to do so, man, as a fan of MMOs, as a fan of loot games, as a fan of ARPGs, I absolutely do not love the idea that this could be happening in the games that I'm playing today, because Nexon, they might hold the patent for this in Korea, but they don't across the entire world. And that's where the concern comes in.
It is.
Now, what exactly am I talking about? Well, let's take a look. The patent for dynamic rates.
Do you think that this would be the kind of thing that would ever be in a game that's not about like spending money in the game just to get people playing more, like to keep them subscribed with World of Warcraft? But I feel like once somebody buys the game, it's not really like, I mean, it's in your best interest to make a fun game, but like maybe it would still be worth to keep people playing just to have that type of like loot manipulation. But I mean, like, is it bad to have like the pity system in Lost Ark where it's like you've been honing forever and you don't get lucky and then you finally just get it? Like, is that bad? I don't know.
Includes the following: if a lot of user activity, decrease rates. Increase rates if users have low activity.
That way you get more people to do it. So as they tell each other, they're like, oh, well, you should do that.
Rates based on player location. If gacha items exceed expected number or set amount, decrease rates. Change rates based on number of friends on buddy list.
Or you have a decent game to actually people play. Correct. I think that's what like the ideal is. Yeah. So, but this kind of stuff is like, it's coming, man. It's coming.
Change rates based on buddy list stats.
Yeah, because like, you logically want to give higher rates to people that have lots of friends, because then they'll tell all of their friends to do it.
I wonder if that's actually the case. You tell people with lots of friends to do it, or you tell people with little friends, like you would give better loot to people with less people to play with, because that way, like if they have lots of friends, then they're kind of already socially connected and encouraged to play the game. But if you give good loot to people who don't play that much, then they're maybe more incentivized to play because they keep getting good loot, so they get like the reward loop. I think it's actually the opposite of what he's suggesting, but I'd be curious.
But if you have somebody that has no friends, it's easier to take advantage of them.
Oh, okay.
Because
that's what you're saying.
They're not going to tell other people about it. I think it was the other way around.
Oh.
No, I don't think so.
He's saying it for different reasons.
Change rates for certain gacha items above some rarity. Change rates based on users' current items. So some of these
like, I'll give you an example in like Honkai Star Rail. Like, you know how if you play the game, you can have like your friends list, and then people can put like their big characters. So, like, if you have a lot of people on your friends list, you want people to see that, oh, yeah, you actually can get the new character. This person already has it. Holy shit, they have it. So it's a form of advertising.
Interesting.
Really that bad. And in fact...
Yeah, I would think it was almost the other way around, where your objective is if, like, the cynical, like, objective is to just keep people playing and get money out of them. People who have a lot of friends or socially connected, they're likely to keep playing anyway. People who are not, you need to kind of keep them playing by giving them items. So increasing the drop rates for people who spend money but are not connected would keep them playing, but we'll see.
I would say there's parts of this that are totally normal and expected from MMOs.
I mean, it would work both ways, I guess.
A lot of them are pretty nefarious, especially the ones that pertain to items being purchased from the cash shop. Let's consider the implications here, starting with the most benign. So number 3, that says change rates based on player location. This one's actually totally normal, like having the rates of item drops change based on your location in game. That happens in most.
I didn't think they meant in game. I thought they meant like you get different rates depending on where you lived in the world. Like, you know, the more affluent places might get more items dropped so they could spend more money or whatever, right? But that's the idea.
Most MMOs, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
Here we would be talking about things like loot tables that are tied to certain areas. So, for example, in the Elder Scrolls Online, there are item sets that will only drop when you are in a particular zone.
This is also why, like, for example, in BDO, they do announcements whenever somebody hits a really high level. And they do it in Lost Ark too. Like, whenever, like, I got a 25 on my weapon, like, it did, like, a server announcement. Oh, yeah, I just got this.
Yeah, I thought it meant, like geographical location in the world. Having loot drop different places in the actual game is fine. As long as it's, like, within the game. I mean, that's honestly, like, that's not that bad. But manipulating things off of, like, IRL, like, your friends list, or if you have good items on your character, you're more or less like, you're less likely to get good stuff when your character's really juiced up or something like that. That's annoying. But like in Last Epoch, you have a juiced up character, you run higher corruption, you get better drops. Like, that's cool. Like, earning your way to higher drops in game is cool, but this kind of thing is different.
Referred to as overland sets. So when
It's
you're out
advertising,
farming
yeah.
in
That would get other people to do
Rivenspire,
it.
you've got like a 1% chance or something of getting a piece of the necropotent set from any of the mobs that you kill. But as soon as you leave that zone, that rate drops to 0. You will.
I will say one thing, just a thought I'm having. I hate thinking about games like this. Like the immersion breaking, you're being taken advantage of kind of thing. It's just like, oh, it's probably true, and I probably need to be more aware of it than I am. But it's just like, it makes me so sad, you know? Makes me so sad.
Will never get it outside of the zone. Or you've got the items that will only drop in particular
see.
dungeons or raids, and we're not just talking boss loot, but dungeon-wide loot tables. So for example, in World of Warcraft, you're only going to get set pieces of the Scarlet Mail set while farming mobs in the Scarlet Monastery.
That's
so this
fine.
one makes sense, not at all surprising. It's pretty much what
I don't think
expect.
that's what
It's
it
a lot
says,
of
though.
MMOs
I don't think that's what
do.
it
But
means.
that, of course, is just one interpretation of that line, because the other one could be not that it refers to adjust rates based on player location in game, but that it adjusts rates based on player location in the real world. So depending on where you are in the world, what region you are, where you're.
Yeah, it's like if you are.
This by the way is like super old footage of Diablo Immortal. By the way, that's like, this is like beta material, like promotional stuff from a long time ago.
If you're in some shitty country and they know you don't have as much money, like, yeah, they'll give you a little bit of a bonus. But like, if you
They could go
have
either
an
way.
IP address that's from San Francisco, well, like, bro, like, this guy probably makes over 100K a year. Like, yeah, he can spend more money. Like, yeah, cut the rate in half. Fuck him.
Right, and that would be the idea of either getting people to spend more if they have more, or get people to keep playing if they have less, right? So, I see.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
IP address pings you at, they will then make adjustments to the rates. And of course, this would likely be referring to things like, depending on the country that you're located and the particular variation of the game that they want you to have, they will adjust the drop rates, the rates that you acquire currency, the rates that you acquire resources, how that may or may not be tied into changes into the progression depending on the part of the world that you're in.
That's
or maybe
crazy.
Because I bet that would probably work really well. Like, if you could have it to where, like, you can tell where a person's IP address is, and then you can cross-reference their IP address for the average income in that area, and then you could contextualize that around their spending habits, you could probably get people to spend more money by creating, like, an actuarial table about how to, like, maximize manipulating them. I think this could really work. This is a good idea.
He's going for the troll mode.
That's smart.
Cash shop, so they might want to incentivize
Yeah,
you.
guys, you have to VPN
pretty
to
brutal.
You have to VPN to, like, fucking Alabama or something like that. VPN to Africa.
Purchases by reducing your rates in certain regions and not in other regions. That
Problem
is the
solved.
other more
Hey, what's our New World pro?
malicious variation and interpretation.
Hey, leave New World out of this. New World's got nothing to do with this, surely, right? With all the Amazon data, there's no way. No, leave New World out of this.
Based on player location. But then we move on to checking numbers 1 and 2.
Why show
Number
New
one
World?
says if
Probably just an
a lot
MMO.
of user activity decrease rates, and the ability to increase rates for users with low activity. Now, these are pretty self-explanatory, but again, think of the implications. So if you play a game a lot, your odds of getting higher rarity items could then be decreased by the developer. Or
Because they know you're not going to quit.
Yeah.
And, like, I always thought this was kind of some of the logic that Blizzard used with, like, making really shitty systems. Is that they knew players weren't going to quit, so they just said, fuck it. We're going to make them farm as much as they possibly can.
You take a break.
Or give people something to do, Asmon.
When you return, your rates might get bumped up, meaning you're more likely.
Yeah, because, like, you think about it in an abstract.
Well, I'll also say this. You think about it this way, is that, like, that's just how games are in general. Now, this is different than what we're talking about here, but, like, the more you do something, sometimes, and you get better at it, you progressively get less better each interval of getting better at something, right? When you first learn to ride a bike or lift weights or whatever, you get way better really fast. But then, as you progressively do it, you get better less quickly, and that's just kind of part of how it is. But so that would sort of make sense if you looked at it from, like, an analytics perspective, like what just sort of naturally happens when people play. But this is like artificially messing with it to manipulate people into playing more or, you know, spending more, right? Which is freaky.
See if I can pull up what was said before. Isn't this what they do in WoW? Where whenever everybody is playing the system, it's bad, and then whenever people stop playing it, they make it better? That's basically what they do in WoW right now.
Get better loot. And I get why a developer...
Well, you know, making systems better takes time, as people play it early on, and then by the time things get weird, like, they've been fixing it for a while, they're trying to, and they figure it out. Or you got to work on whatever is the most, like, immediate concern, right? Either making new content or whatever, but yeah, when something becomes a problem, you got to kind of fix it. But I feel you.
Developer would want to use a system like this. So if you've got someone,
this is old Diablo stuff too,
who stops playing your game for some extended period of time, when they return, you
give
want to give them incentive to stick around. So yeah, why not shower them with legendaries, drop a best in slot stat roll on some items that they get, make them feel really good so they want to keep on playing.
Exactly.
And hey, in that circumstance, if you are that player, that sounds pretty great, right?
I will say, like, that kind of stuff, like having rewards in game like that like reward, like you like save up your dailies in Lost Ark and then you do them, you get like 1.5 resources instead of, like, you know, just 1. Like, that's fine because it's in the game and it's stated, right? Like, sort of behind the veil freaky stuff that is paying money for it, that's also like, that's a different sort of thing.
But boy, does it suck for anyone actively playing the game, because the flip side...
Did you remember whenever, I think it was Activision, patented a software that allowed players to, or sorry, that decreased and increased the...
Yeah, I heard about this, I think.
What do you call it? The aim assist based off of how well a player was doing. So, like, if a player was having really good games, it would make the aim assist worse.
That's not what I thought it was.
So they would have worse games. And
that's
if a
freaky,
player was having really bad games, it would make the aim assist better, so they would be better.
That is funny, though.
Yeah.
Some of these things that they patent is kind of crazy. Skill-based aim assist.
This is a whole new world we're in, gentlemen.
Oh my gosh. It actually is, though.
This coin is that the longer you play, they could potentially make it less likely that you get good items, literally punishing the most dedicated people playing the game. This would also be an effective way for a developer to pad out playtimes, for example. Like, when you see someone who is clearly dedicated, they're playing the game every single day for multiple hours, why not...
Yeah, you can take advantage of them.
Dial back their rewards just a little bit, and they may very well end up playing for longer. That is, if they don't just quit out of frustration. And finding that balance would be the key, right? And maybe
again, it'd be nice if that thing happened naturally. This is Last Epoch right here, where, you know, it's just like, that's one. I think one of the things that people struggle with in WoW is that there is kind of like a cap on your power, and it's something actually I miss, is being able to just continue to farm and get stronger. Like, right now, Dragonflight's really easy to kind of get a character up to speed and get into the game and get an arena or Mythic Plus or rating or whatever, but there's not like a lot to grind to get stronger every time you log in, and I kind of miss that, personally.
that explains...
Remember what I was saying before about how Honkai Star Rail and Genshin, they are punishing the Genshin players and then rewarding the Honkai Star Rail players so they can figure out the perfect middle ground for how to extract the most amount of money for Zenless Zone Zero? And so they're using like A/B testing. So they're like, okay, for this anniversary, we'll give them a 5-star, and for this anniversary, we'll give them 3 pulls.
I actually believe that that's probably the case too. Like, a lot of times I think Asmon's being a little bit extreme to be funny, but that's actually, unfortunately, probably a real thing. Doing A/B testing on the players. Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, which one caused player behavior to change in this way? Okay, so then for the new game, what we'll do is we'll do this instead, right? And so, yeah, Genshin players are basically the torture group, and then Star Rail players are the reward group. That's just the way it is.
That's why I got a nearly perfectly rolled bow on my Falconer like 10 hours into playing Last Epoch. But in the 40 hours that I played since, every other one that's dropped has sucked, and I've only found a single version of this bow with any legendary potential, and it had nearly the worst possible stat rolls it could have. Maybe if I stop playing for a few weeks, I'll finally get the good drops that I'm
Last Epoch would never take it back, Force. They would never.
Looking for when I return. Am I assuming that's happening in Last Epoch?
That's
no,
my guy
not
right there.
necessarily. I assume it's
That's my
probably
Beastmaster right there, handling business.
But now we've got that seed of doubt, knowing that it's possible these rates could be manipulated.
He's making a very good point about this, and I think he's totally right.
They would never.
What he's saying is that as soon as you see the man behind the machine, you can never play the game with the same type of authenticity.
Of course.
And I'll give you a really good example of how this is true that everybody probably understands if you've played one of these games. Do you remember what happened whenever, like, in PUBG, there were all these Chinese hackers, and every time you got killed by a bad player, you never thought to yourself, wow, that person was really good. You assumed that they were cheating, and then Warzone had the same thing.
People do that anyway. They just always accuse people of cheating, but yeah. Yeah, I like some solo stuff. Again, my attitude and my things that I like in games, I think are kind of weird compared to other people. Because I did like things like Torghast and farming like legendary power, not legendary power, but like artifact power and stuff to just be a little teeny bit stronger. Just kind of felt good to move the bar somehow. That's how my brain works. I always like to make gains, you know? Having some kind of solo thing would be kind of cool in WoW still, yeah.
Happen. So like once the integrity of the game is damaged, it's very hard to get that back.
True.
Tarkov, yeah, there you go. And so
see, but I wasn't like a raider where like you had to do the artifact power grind or like you weren't ready for raid. I just like to just have have something to make gains every time I logged in, just get a little stronger every time, you know? I like that. But yeah, I feel you. If you're like spamming the maw for like 12 hours a day to get strong for raid, it's like, yeah, that's different. But I guess it's also kind of a player choice and how you go about it too, so
like now people no longer are thinking, oh, well, you know, like I just need to play better. They're thinking, oh, I just got beat by a cheater.
Based on player playtime. We've got Nexon with an active patent for that exact thing in Korea. Could other developers be doing it in other games and other parts of the world that are being made? I mean, it's possible. We can't say it's not possible because clearly we know people can do it. It's within the realm of possibility. And this is where things get a little tricky, right? Because obviously this could all just be chalked up to RNG. Me not getting a great bow for my falconer in 40 hours. It could just be random luck of the draw. It is probably just random luck.
It is, bro.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist here, but I have to talk about the possibilities. And that's
where
out of this. The issue lies. Loot in these games,
is this one's human?
And ARPGs and looter shooters, it is random by design.
I haven't played that one yet.
Random drops with random stats and affix rolls adjusted by the in-game circumstances that you're partaking in. Like,
it's possible. Yeah, of course it's possible. I mean, anybody could have assumed that's possible. I mean, that's why.
I'm discussing a possibility, of course.
For example, like here's another way that like this is applied and has been applied, is the Legion Legendary Bad Luck Protection. Is that if you had bad luck protection, you would get a legendary more often.
Right.
That is effectively just another manifestation of this exact system. Because like I had,
or I mean, I guess like the Fearlath, right? You get the little drop enhancers, right? So you don't get the weapon, but you can get a slightly better chance at it next time.
Had this happen too. I remember I played in PoE and it was in the Lake of Calandra League, and I got a ring and it had like 60 of 2 resists and it had 150 something health. And I got it at like level 62. It was fucking insane. It was the most insane ring. Now, does that mean that the game is like open? And I saw a guy drop a Mirror of Calandra in like Act 7 or Act 6 or something like that.
It happens.
It was bullshit. Yeah, I know. I mean, sometimes it's just RNG.
Most of the time,
you're gonna get better rewards, and they're
maybe
gonna
I'm
occur
copium
more
though.
frequently as your level gets higher, as you push into harder content, and the types of content that you're doing. Some combination and variation of all of these things will affect the loot drops that you're getting. It's part of the genre. Randomness has always been in these games. It is built in, but knowing that there could also then be this extra added layer where a developer is punishing you, not based on the content that you're doing.
What game is that? That's a
PoE is awesome. Yeah, I agree.
Difficulty of the content, the known mechanics within the game, but just based on your frequency of playtime, that's not really great. I mean, I guess it's not bad for the person who takes a break and then gets better loot when they return.
It sucks dick. It absolutely sucks massive dick. There's no other way around it. It's literal garbage. There's not even a question about this. It's terrible design. It's completely antithetical to what video games are supposed to be about. It is just punishing people for working hard. It creates a reward loop around not putting effort into the game. It's literal garbage. It's poison for video games. And if video games adopt this, then people will only be trained to not care about them. So yes, no, obviously I'm talking about it as like a joke, as like, haha, this is smart. This is what they should do instead, because it would manipulate people and cause people to spend more money, which is true. However, do I agree with this? No, it's fucking awful. This is terrible. Like if I knew a game had something like this, like World of Warcraft tried doing something like this actually whenever the game was going to come out, because you know how they had rested experience? They were
Right.
going to have the opposite, which was going to be like you would get tired and then you get experience less frequently.
That would be
and Blizzard
not
actually
cool.
went back on that idea in 2004 because they knew that having a negative reward structure for playing the game too much would in fact discourage people from it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would suck. Like, you want people to play your game, you want people to have fun. That's just whack, you know? However, like, this stuff that manipulate people behind the curtain, that's not good. I think the best thing to do is make, like we were saying, just make good games that are fun. People want to log into and play. You know, Last Epoch's been great, and I'd definitely be bummed to hear, like, there's, like, some sort of thing, like, that you get less loot if you play more, right? Like, that'd take me completely out of it. But some people might still play this kind of stuff, right? Like, for me, I'm somebody who played Diablo Immortal for a long time, knowing that it was like, you know, completely pay to win. But the thing was that the gameplay loop for me was fun, and I had hopes that things would change. But so I can kind of see how people might still want to play a game knowing all that stuff about it. But I would imagine games like this would ultimately not succeed if they're built on a structure that's designed to sort of artificially manipulate them into playing or paying more or less, depending on like what loot they get. But I don't know. We'll see.
Enjoying the game. Final Fantasy had that, yeah, big mistake, and now it doesn't. It's extremely immoral and anti-consumer. Yes, it is.
It is pretty shit for the users who are playing daily and then are being rewarded with worse odds, with worse loot drops. And just knowing that developers could be doing this, yeah,
That's
I mean,
enough.
it kind of sucks the wind out of the sails, right? It's
For
sort
sure.
of like when you get these games that have built-in RMT. So if I'm just farming for gold and resources within a game, most of the time...
Any game that you can buy gold in, if you're farming gold, you're a cuck.
I knew he was going to say something like that. I've heard of that line before.
Under the assumption that this is just part of the game playing experience. Everything is good. I will farm gold for hours so long as the game is mechanically satisfying and interesting, and I'm enjoying the experience, and I'm working towards some sort of a set goal.
I kind of feel that way too. Like, I can play games like that and have fun, but in the back of my mind, I know it's whack that people can just like buy stuff. If it actually like leads to like big player power.
It's just part of playing the game. But yeah, the second a game has officially supported built-in RMT.
I wonder which game he's talking about.
Pretty.
I mean, it could be any of them, right?
I haven't been there in a while. Does it look all nice like that? now?
That veil gets lifted a bit.
knows?
Like when I can
That's
see,
new, right?
say it costs a
It looked like Lock Modan, just upgraded. That's how you get WoW tokens for game time? Yeah, but like, oh, so you're farming gold to get tokens, right? Yeah. I feel like in WoW, it's like, you can buy some stuff, but it's not like the same thing as like buying gold in Lost Ark, I don't think. But even that has it. But I think it's kind of cool that you can farm gold to buy a WoW sub, which is neat.
For 1,000 gold, you can get that for $10, but it takes 5 hours of grinding in game to farm 1,000 gold. At that point, I just kind of feel like I'm working for $2 an hour.
You are. That's exactly right, and that is the most corrosive thing about having a dollar value for resources in game, is that it creates a frame of reference that everybody judges their own activity off of.
I guess so.
So like, you are no longer farming for 20,000 gold an hour, you're farming for $2 an hour.
Yeah, and
because now
that's that like kind of like immersion breaking, like anti-fun feeling, you know? But I don't know.
Everything else is based off of that frame of reference. And an extreme example of that is WoW retail. Like, everything is based off of the WoW token.
I guess.
It's like the fucking...
I spend so little time thinking about the WoW token. Except for, like, when I'm trying to determine how much I should charge for my gold mercenary services, right? Then it's like, I don't know, just like whatever the token is per hour, right? But then even then, if I'm not thinking about it, doesn't mean it's not like a thing, right? So...
Federal Reserve. Yeah. Like, that's what everybody decides their money is on. Right? Everybody decides things are worth, right? It's based off of the price of a WoW token.
Yes.
It's like, insane.
My own example is the case.
The similarity between these two things here is that it's just really demotivating. The same as farming gold for $2 an hour in games that have RMT, or knowing that the game could, the longer
like if I wasn't a streamer, or like I didn't have disposable income to spend on a game, like I'll be honest, I would not even do this. Like, if I was a billionaire, I would not spend money on a game unless I was doing it for stream content, because I would feel stupid. It's the same reason why I don't go to Starbucks. Yeah. I would feel stupid spending $7 for a thing of coffee. It's like a humiliation ritual by doing it. It's like, okay, I'm going to give you $7 and you're going to give me water. Okay, I'm stupid. You see what I'm saying? Like, I would feel stupid just doing it. Didn't you?
Yeah, it's like, I feel like when it does become attached to the real money is when it's not fun. If you're farming gold just to participate in like a in-game economy, again, you're still playing a video game. Maybe you're wasting your time, depending on, you know, whatever. Like, but at the same time, that can be kind of fun to participate in that kind of thing. But when it does have a real money thing attached to it, it kind of just like breaks your immersion, takes you out of it. It's just like kind of a weird vibe, you know, a really weird feeling.
You spend a lot on Immortal? Yeah, and I made a ton of money off of the YouTube videos. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that, and the streams too, actually. It was still on my main channel. If I wasn't a streamer, I wouldn't be spending any money on these games.
Fair enough.
That's my point.
I don't. Yeah, same thing with like Diablo Immortal, right?
Regardless of how much money I
that can
had.
sure really ruin the experience. And then we've got numbers 5, 6, and 8, which are sort of along these same lines. Change rates based on the number of
going all the way
friends
back to
on
this.
your buddy list.
This
change
is just
rates
intelligent.
based on your buddy
that's
list
smart.
stats, or change rates based on the user's current items. These kind of mesh together and follow the same general idea as above. They're making changes just based on
I think he's just showing New World stuff,
you, but not based on the game's built-in mechanics. It's
just
so like
it's an
too
MMO.
many people on your friends list. Sorry, you're gonna start getting worse loot. If you
It's
have
the opposite. It's going to be that more people on your friends list, you're going to get better loot because you have the higher potential to advertise that positive interaction with more people.
Can go either way.
really bad loot.
I can see
on
either
the
way.
plus side, we're gonna start boosting you up. When it
Yeah,
comes
so
to
like if you don't have any friends, you also don't have any 5 stars. You're a fucking loser. And so what do losers do? Well, losers lose.
positive implications of this,
Or they're going to
we're
spend
all
money to try to keep up.
Maybe, but it's the other side that just
Either
things
way.
get a little scary. And the absolute worst stuff, though, really, is the dynamic rates as they pertain to cash shop items. So that's number 4 and 7. If gacha items exceed expected number or set amount, decrease rates, and also changes.
I love
crazy.
how these companies, like, isn't this like, bro, no, you're not going to convince people about digital exclusivity. I'm sorry. Digital exclusivity is like a fucking oxymoron.
Yeah, it's insane.
Digital exclusivity. Digital, means you can copy it infinitely.
Yes,
There's no actual
insane.
exclusivity for this. This is why NFTs died. How do they not understand this?
I don't know, bro.
rates for certain gacha items above some rarity. That one's pretty explicit. I assume that's happening. But number 4, boy, if you're opening a ton of loot boxes and you get a few good items in a row, hey, guess what? They're gonna nerf your rates, which means
That's
if
enough
you
of that.
buy more boxes, you should expect to get garbage for a while. Now, if the implementation of this one is as it sounds, is as I assume it is,
And what makes sense is like they would adjust the rates, but you wouldn't necessarily know because maybe you were just sort of thinking that you were sort of evening out your luck, right? Because if it's really rare to get something good and you get a few good somethings in a row, you're like, whoa, there's no way. Like if you keep buying stuff with the law of averages or whatever, right? You would expect to not get good stuff for a while anyway. So it's not like you necessarily would feel like you're being manipulated. It's just it would make sense that it works that way anyway, but you are being manipulated.
I mean, that should
Freaky.
be illegal, right? Like, I get it. It's kind of similar to gambling. Sure, in gambling, you've got low odds for every single pull of the slot machine, but sometimes you win, and that's great. But I assume it is super illegal and against gambling laws to decrease the rates of someone once they win.
Have to be, right?
That sounds illegal, but legality or...
I mean, I don't know if it is or not. I mean, like, I'll tell you this, that it probably is a good system. And you can definitely, it is. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, guys.
At least make
you
it.
overestimate people. Digital exclusive gets people for sure. I see people way too often, sad to say.
There's a lot of ways that you can try to hopefully protect people from gambling, like letting them know the odds and stuff, but gambling is just dumb anyway, right? Like, I don't know. I don't want to make like an immoral assessment about gambling, but it's like you are paying for the experience of being entertained by a game in which you are extremely likely to lose money. Right, so you're paying, like, you gotta understand you're paying for the experience and not even like trying to paying to win money, right? That's just kind of, I don't know. I think gambling is just, maybe I'm just too risk averse and not really like an experience seeker, but I don't know. I think it's just kind of dumb in general.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is like people are not going to accept the idea that a digital item will become more expensive because more people are making purchases of it. Like, of course, like, people care about rare items, like rare CSGO skins. But, like, the difference is that a rare CSGO skin, the value of that is set by it's set by a market. It's not set by the seller. Or actually, well, it is, but it's not.
I have no idea how the
saying
skins
is that
work.
The person who created the object is not setting the value.
Crappy. If a game that you're playing has this mechanic, you sure are going to want to know about it so that you don't go spending money after getting a good item to be almost guaranteed to get worse loot for some.
Somebody said in chat, I saw this, the rates are backwards for friends lists. They did studies where people with more friends stick around and are more addicted.
I'm a genius. That's what I said.
So then they get the lower drop rate.
I'm a genius.
Man, you know what? That logic tracks, doesn't it? Holy fuck. Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
I'm proud. I'm proud that I could see through the BS, but maybe I should feel worse that I was capable of thinking in that manipulative way. But no, that's kind of how I thought about it too. Player retention and money extraction.
Spending money after getting a good item to be almost guaranteed
That's
to
not
get
good.
worse loot for some extended period of time. I mean, hey, if you needed any more reason to avoid spending money on loot boxes and gacha items, knowing that there's a chance that if you win some, you're guaranteed worse odds going forward,
Just not even.
that sounds like as
don't even
good
bother
of
with the system.
a reason as any. This whole thing is really complicated
Ideally.
and frustrating because these games, as I said earlier, they've always had a lot of randomness involved. It's part of their nature. Random loot, random stats doled out at random intervals.
That's fine though.
This is part of the gameplay loop. It is
Yeah,
a big part
it's
of the
fine.
reason why a lot of us play. The game
As long as
has
the game's
to feel
fun.
fun and be satisfying to play, but then
Yeah.
the draw of that loot is what keeps you playing.
I enjoy games like this, and I understand that, it's just like my brain likes it, but yeah, you don't want it to have like whenever there's real money attached to it, it always brings me down, and it bummed me out so much that I enjoyed Immortal so much, and it was like so completely just dripping with like pay to win, and you could tell it was kind of going to drag the game down if they didn't change things, and they didn't. It was sad.
Keep pushing that button, knowing that good stuff will come eventually. You just don't know when. I mean, it's
if I knew that this was in a game,
Just can't.
I would just not play the game.
Yeah.
Like this kind of content, all it does is it trains a person like me to just no longer be interested in it.
Yeah.
an entire genre of games built on variable rewards. That's the ongoing motivation. I just think what's so frustrating here with this story is just what
like
we
claw
don't
machines.
know.
Yeah.
We've got all of these
Yeah,
different
it's a good
loot
point.
games, which are some of my favorite
a great
genres,
point.
MMOs, ARPGs, looter shooters, and we simply don't know how many games, which games, what combination of these are utilizing these dynamic variable rewards based on player activity. Like
This is what
Yeah.
people always say with like streamer loot too.
Hopefully
like
none.
this is, and it's a conspiracy,
Yeah,
right?
streamer
it's not like
loot,
streamers get better loot. Like the companies are like watching a streamer and they're like, give them the 5-star. Let's get these fucking plebs. Let's get them
Maybe.
spending all their money. Like I don't think the companies are really doing that, right? I don't
I
think
like
so.
that.
I
I feel
wish
ya.
they would. But I don't
Give
think
Lego
they are.
hacks, yeah, right.
Companies make too much money trying to manipulate gamers instead.
That's what I was saying. He's like, he was having way too much fun on Last Epoch. Give him the axe. Buff Warriors, get him back ASAP. We're losing him.
Just doing the obvious big money makers and then spending the rest of the resources making the games good. Yeah, this is the thing.
True.
Is they're patenting all of these different ways to make the game bad. Like, why don't you just patent a way to like make AI NPCs interact with the environment better?
Let's remember that it took me 252 runs to get Tayshlak. Maybe that was part of the manipulation too. Don't give it to him. The streams are doing great. We did have some really fun streams farming Tayshlak, but 252 runs is kind of a lot.
Like, it's like all of the innovation is happening in terms of how to make money, and none of it's about the actual game.
Yeah.
You can request access for Vindictus game now? Yeah, I'm going to do that in just a minute after I finish.
Examples that we've outlined here, some combination of them could
By
be
the way,
used.
Vindictus is a Korean-made game by Nexon, so
Have
we
fun
might
with
be
that.
getting a first,
Oh boy.
like fucking front row seat at this
Oh,
for a new
boy.
game.
in a few games, could be used in a lot of games, or could be
That was-
used
that was
in
great
most of
times.
the games in the genre.
Great times.
That's what's frustrating. We just don't know, and we really can't know. I guess on the plus side, you might get rewarded when you're first starting out, when you have bad gear,
Yeah.
if you don't have a lot of friends on your friends list, or when you return from taking a break.
shouldn't be
break.
using
And
that.
like I said, in those circumstances, when implemented in that way, these
I think he shouldn't be using that in terms of like criticism of the gameplay, not like you shouldn't be using that system. But Yeah, I just don't want any of that crap.
Dynamic variable rewards are fine. They're nice even. They're welcome. But the
Nah,
negative
no, they're
side
not.
is that possibility
No.
that if you play a lot, you're punished with worse odds and will be getting worse loot. Or if you fancy yourself spending money on loot boxes and gacha items, the idea that every time you pull big, the next X amount of dollars you spend are almost going to be thrown out the window because they are reducing your chance of getting anything good from that point forward, which is a major yikes. This whole thing really makes me think
this is something that can only work in the shadows. Like, they can't tell you that they're doing this. That this has to work as like a dark pattern type thing.
But that's so messed up, though, to do that.
It has to, but if it works in I think it'd be good.
We should demand
probably make
way
a lot
more
more money if they did this.
as to how drop rates are calculated in a lot of these games and how or when those drop rates can change. This matters a whole lot less when it comes to just like what loot am I getting as a player and how often am I getting loot. It is frustrating in that it kind of, you know, it certainly impacts like the motivation to keep grinding. And if you know for sure that a game is using a system like this, punishing you for the more often you play, I imagine that's going to kill the desire for a lot of people to keep playing.
Everybody would be done and stuff.
Unless something happens that forces developers to share that information.
Well, also, like, players respond to rewards. Like, people respond to reinforcement. So if you create a reinforcement loop around not playing the game, then people will not play the game.
Good, yeah.
Don't know. We probably won't know unless there's some big investigation by someone like the Korean Federal Trade Commission.
Right, somebody said it in his chat, but Lost Ark kind of did that. But you needed to, like, the idea was to like not play certain characters and do like a rotation, so you weren't doing dailies 8 hours a day. But even that became a lot.
When what they did with Nexon,
that's the idea, Collective. That's the big question.
Which games, what games
is how much of this already exists in the games we play today. Yeah, that's the whole like premise of the video. Is it could be like that in the future, or it could be that right now
using these systems and how many of them they're using. But yeah, it doesn't matter as much for loot rewarded from playing the game, but I certainly feel it's a pretty big deal when it pertains to items purchased from the cash shop. This idea that your rates will change.
It's annoying either way, but it's
you score big or something.
Really like scummy.
I don't know about the legality, but
and probably illegal.
Sounds pretty garbage.
But
I
it's
think
like
at
real
the very
money.
least, this should give you some pause when you consider playing any game developed by Nexon, Maple Story, Vindictus.
Speaking of Vindictus, we are beginning the download. So we're gonna see this firsthand.
Yeah, he's not stopping.
We're gonna look at it right there. We're gonna see what's really going on.
Or the upcoming game, The First Descendant. Besides their history with the changing the rates of the cubes and making
that game was kind of fun too.
Literally impossible. We know they have done this. It has been proven, and they were fined for doing so. There's a chance that could also
so fined not all that much. They got fined $9 million for making $420 million basically.
I remember playing The First Descendant and thinking to myself,
crazy.
Man,
that was kind of fun.
It's gonna be a lot worse whenever they make all these upgrade materials from the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there are other games, but that stuff aside, this whole dynamic rate manipulation, we know Nexon has the patent for it in Korea, and now we know, if we weren't sure already in the past, that it is something that could very well be applied to other games that we play, other loot games. And if that is happening, I mean, I sure would love to know. Or maybe I wouldn't, because maybe that would just mean I wouldn't want to play games that are implemented.
You should never play any game ever again.
Yeah, no, I would want to know so I could avoid them. I just
never play any game again.
If the game was really fun, it's like maybe I would still play it. But I do feel like this is something that would eventually make me feel like my time is being wasted, and I would quit playing.
Yeah, that's a really bad feeling, especially when a game's fun.
Look, randomness, it is part of the genre. I just feel like there has to be an established baseline of understanding of where that randomness comes into play, how and when it changes.
Again, I love the thing with Last Epoch where you get more rarity from progressing higher into corruption. That's just good stuff, man. I like that. Yeah, it'd be crushing to learn that exists in a while. Yeah, I know, it'd be rough.
Better loot drops when we push higher levels, when we push harder content.
Nothing like artificial,
when we go into different types of content, when we farm in different zones, when we farm different dungeons. That is all an established understanding, and I think most of the player base goes into playing these games knowing that these things exist.
They scam the shit out of MapleStory users. Like, I'm sorry, guys, I'm just gonna say it, but if you were still playing MapleStory, you are a dick eater.
The Asmon takes that
and
send him into the stratosphere, bro.
So, I mean, like, is it okay to scam dick eaters? No, it's not.
Look at him.
It's not that bad.
Oh my gosh.
It's not really that bad. I don't really feel that bad for him. I'm sorry. Why? It's not. Yeah. It's just like, I mean, what are you doing playing?
Those are the money takes right there, Asman.
It's really
What are
more
you
so
doing?
the
Those are the big
punishing
ones.
side of it. The punishing for frequency of
That's fine.
playing.
Yeah,
the
that's what's
punishing for
bad.
the how good your gear is. The punishing for the number of people on your friends list. If there are a lot of
What's
good games
this?
using
Ruin
systems
everything?
like
What are you
that, I
talking
love
about?
it. Absolutely do not.
Last Sea
love
Fox
it.
ruined everything for you. What do you
That's gonna
mean,
do it for
Force?
today's
That's
video, though.
amazing.
Thank you as always for watching.
Last Sea Fox great.
I love it.
Leave Last
See you
Sea Fox
guys in
out
the
of
next
this.
one. Take it easy.
Come on,
I'm
Force.
so glad that I watched this. I really
That's funny.
am. I'll link you guys the video. This is amazing.
We'll do the same.
Like, I want
Good stuff,
to see
Force.
how far they're gonna take it, man. I really do.
Good stuff.
Holy fucking shit! What's wrong with eating
I'm glad that
dick?
we watched
I
this
mean,
one
there's
too,
nothing-
because I had seen that idea. I think it was on Twitter, this variable drop rate thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is some sinister stuff. So I'm glad that we happened across this
really
video too.
wrong with it. I mean, people can play MapleStory if they want to, but like, it doesn't.
It was so good at rid of everything else. Oh, okay, yeah, all right. That's what he said. That it is really good. Yeah,
Take away from the fact that that's what
it is really good.
Vindictus Playtest is available to download
Uh-huh,
now.
Lord,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know that. I'm downloading it right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna play it in just a few minutes. But man, 2.5K
Pretty
people
funny.
watching MapleStory right now. That's a lot of dicks. Man,
Jeez.
that's a lot of dicks. But yeah, I didn't know about the drop rate increases because of friends list. I think that's crazy. And I wonder if
Yeah.
this game is going to do it too, because this
No.
game is called Once Human, and they were made. Is it a Korean
Don't do it,
developer
bro.
or a Chinese developer?
Don't
I
do
don't
it Once
remember.
Human.
I
Just be
think
good.
it's-
Just be good.
Was Korean? Like, I don't remember. Fuck, am I dumb?
Come on, man.
Is it NetEase? Like, yeah, I don't remember. Is it Chinese?
Just be
Chinese?
good.
Okay, it's Chinese. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I played this one, and yeah, maybe
people
they'll
really
do
liked
it
it.
too. I mean, who the fuck knows? Massive difference. Yeah,
Don't
but
do
whenever
it.
I see the letters, like, I just know the Korean ones are the ones with the circles and shit. Like, that's just about it. Didn't you try this game before?
He liked it, I
Didn't
thought.
I try this game before?
He played a lot.
You mean, didn't I play this game all the way to max level up every single item that I had, max rank every single weapon,
I think that's
clear
how
all of the
Asmon rolls.
content, and do everything? Yeah, I played it. Just a bit, though. Like, I mean, just, you know,
That's how
I
he
probably only
rolls.
put, like, 250 hours into it. That was about it.
Asmon has an extremely positive impact on gaming at times, so if he can push a positive wave towards a cool game, that'd be great. Well, good stuff, Asmon. And good stuff, Force. Where's that video?
So a few weeks
Give that one a thumbs up, and give this one a thumbs up, too. Excellent.